Liberalio is the second heretic ever created. The Rapture Queen used the construction of the first heretic, NIKKE, as the basis for the development of Liberalio. As such, the two heretics share superficial resemblance in appearance, although there is a mountains of difference between them in one important respect. But first, I have also recently opened a Patreon in order to fund my videos, so if you have been enjoying my videos, then please consider looking at it. You can see the rewards for subscribing on the screen right now. And with that said, let's proceed to the video. Liberalio considers Cinderella and herself to be sisters. Despite Cinderella rejecting any such relationship, Liberalio maintains that this is the case. Since NIKKE was created 100 years in the past, Liberalio can be assumed to have a similar lifespan. She is an ancient heretic. And unlike Cinderella, who spent most of the time comatose, Liberalio was conscious for all of it, and this gave her nearly a century to establish and cement her views. Over the last century, the world has been stagnant. Since the Ark was sealed, humanity has been engaged in a toothless war against the Raptures. NIKKEs are offered up as sacrificial lambs to pretend that humanity still has a chance, but in reality, Raptures control the surface, while humanity is kept underground. From this, Liberalio has come to argue that the roles between humans and the Raptures are fixed in their present state, and that this is how everything ought to be if humans and Raptures are to coexist. But to make sense of how all of this fits together, let's first delve into this video subject, the heretic Liberalio and her philosophy. Liberalio's worldview rests upon the following premises. Every being in the world is created as something. In her terms, everything possesses an origin. You cannot change your origin. And since your origin determines what you are, and your origin cannot be changed, you therefore cannot change what you are.
You cannot change your origin. And your origin determines what you are. Therefore, you cannot change what you are. Your origin makes you my sister.
Liberalio is correct in part, namely, she is correct to state that everything has a specific nature in which it is created. If you take a rock, that thing is a rock. Everything that happens to it as a result of other entities or forces acting upon it is the result of it being a rock. In this sense, a rock cannot escape its origin, even when something transforms into something else, as happens to a candlestick when fully burnt up. The way in which it transforms remains determined by its origin. This idea is described by the so-called law of identity, the law which states that everything is what it is, and is not what it is not. A is A, and this immediately delimits the potentialities of that object. By being something, you are therefore not something else. Liberalio proceeds to apply the same rationale to living beings. In a conversation with Cinderella, Liberalio says that they are sisters because they share an origin as heretics, made by the original queen. Cinderella rejects this idea. She has overcome her corruption and returned to fighting for humanity, she argues, and therefore she is no longer the queen's daughter. But to Liberalio, this is nonsensical. Cinderella's origin is as the heretic NIKKE, and you cannot alter your origin. The red in Cinderella's eyes remains as a stark reminder of this fact. Cinderella will always have been a heretic. And similar to how a stone can only act as a stone would, so Cinderella can only act as a heretic would, according to Liberalio. And to do anything else, such as not obeying the queen, would be a contradiction. And because of that, Cinderella's assertion of having changed is dismissed by Liberalio out of hand. As such, Liberalio holds it as impossible for heretics, Raptures, and humans to exist together. In one of her counseling sessions, Liberalio asks the commander what he thinks coexistence is. To the commander, coexistence is when everyone lives in harmony. But to Liberalio, this is a utopia. In other words, a childish fantasy. The origin of humans and Raptures prevents any such harmony. Instead, Liberalio subscribes to a different kind of coexistence, one where raptures remain as the rulers of the surface, where humans are kept underground. This is what Liberalio calls the very definition of coexistence, a situation where two species fulfill their own role without exterminating the other.
Don't mistake coexistence as living together as equals, human. When you humans ruled the surface, did you not coexist with the worms that lived underground? It's the same principle here. We can use you humans as needed, but we won't drive you to extinction. Every species has its role. Fulfilling that role, without annihilating the other, that's the very definition of coexistence.
Liberalio's coexistence has no semblance of mutual benefit. All that it offers is a lack of destruction. The commander rejects Liberalio's solution as unacceptable. To validate her solution, Liberalio asks the commander about what he considers to be the role of humanity. The commander responds by asking in turn what she considers to be the role of the queen, but Liberalio evades answering this question by re-invoking the earlier comparison between humans and worms. Just as a worm could not question us about humanity's role, so humans cannot question the queen about her role either, because it would be impossible for them to understand each other. The commander rightfully interjects that this is a non-answer, and that Liberalio herself clearly has no idea what the queen's role is either, and Liberalio acknowledges this fact, and yet it makes no difference to her. Their origin dooms them to being unable to ever understand each other. Humans, worms and queens alike. Communication is impossible. Now, Liberalio's worm analogy cannot be directly applied to humans and heretics. The reason that humans and worms cannot understand each other is because humans have a conceptual level of consciousness, whereas worms merely have a sensual one. So their gap is epistemological. Heretics, on the other hand, have the same senses and mind as us humans. They see the same world and they possess it in the same way. Instead, humans and heretics differ in their values, the things that they live for, the things that they want to obtain or accomplish. To Liberalio, these different values make harmonious coexistence, as envisioned by the commander, an impossibility. To Liberalio, these values are the product of your origin. Your origin determines what you are, and your values describe who you are as a person. As such, your values are deterministic, innate from creation, and unalterable. Because of this, Liberalio claims that it is impossible to have a truly meaningful conversation. After all, the purpose of communication is not merely the exchanging of words, she continues, but to bring about change into one another.
Once we achieve our goal, there's no telling what could happen. You'll never understand one another, and neither will I. We're inherently different. And because of that, we can never have a truly meaningful conversation. Conversation isn't just about trading words. It's about changing each other. That's the driving force behind it.
In this respect, Liberalio agrees with Behemoth's claim that conversation is the cornerstone of evolution. Yet her conclusion is Behemoth's antithesis. Because your origin is unchangeable, yet conversation revolves around change. Conversation, therefore, is meaningless. In her Bond story, Liberalio admits that she does not understand conversation. Its only purpose is for exchanging data and intel. Anything else necessarily leads to violence, all because change cannot actually occur. For Liberalio, any collaboration between differing groups, such as the one we see in chapter 42, where humans, NIKKEs, the four beasts and Liberalio all team up, is an instance of pure expediency. The friendship between Siren and Leviathan, likewise, is only temporary, bound to revert to its proper status quo after the defeat of only one. Liberalio's argument can thus be summarized as follows. Everything in existence is created as something, and consequently has a particular origin. This origin determines everything possible to that entity. Because one's origin cannot be altered, neither can one's possibilities. Your origin cannot change, so neither can you as a person change. Because the purpose of communication is to bring about change. This makes the communication between beings with different origins impossible. As such, beings with a different origin and which thus possess a different nature cannot understand each other. The only solution then is coexistence. This argument is tricky precisely because it rests upon such a basic premise. So what is the mistake that Liberalio is committing in her reasoning? To answer this question, I want to engage in some perhaps philosophical pretentiousness and compare Liberalio's understanding to that of the Spanish existentialist José Ortega y Gasset, particularly to his essay entitled Man Has No Nature. It might seem weird to compare these two. One is a fictional character from a rival collection game, while the other is a somewhat noteworthy philosopher of the 20th century. Yet as ridiculous as it looks, comparing them will better show what mistake Liberalio is committing. So let's proceed. Ortega starts his essay with the following claim. The stone is given its existence. It need not fight for being what it is, a stone in the field. Man has to be himself in spite of unfavorable circumstances. That means he has to make his own existence at every single moment. He is given the abstract possibility of existence, but not the reality. This he has to conquer, hour after hour. Man must earn his life, not only economically, but metaphysically. What Ortega means with this is that a rock's existence is passive. It possesses no capacity for self-generated action. A rock simply is. A human, meanwhile, has to do things to maintain its existence. For Ortega, every person creates a project for themselves which they complete as they age. To give an example, let's say you want to become a good teacher. This then becomes your project, and you work hard to develop the skills and knowledge necessary for becoming a teacher. Yet even after developing all of this and acquiring the position of a teacher, you have to work to maintain those traits. You cannot coast on your past without effort, expecting your skills as a teacher to remain stable. You have to continuously prepare for class to maintain your status as a good teacher. In this sense, you are forever in becoming, or to use Ortega's words, you have to conquer the reality of being a teacher. Hour after hour. You never are a teacher, you are always becoming a teacher. Because of this, Ortega argues that humans have no nature that defines them. Instead, it is all your past experiences and actions that define what you currently are. And so, Ortega writes that what nature is to things, history is to men. Ortega's understanding of human nature is the exact opposite of Liberalio's. To Liberalio, nature is fixed, and thus change is impossible. To Ortega, humans are constantly changing, and so possess no nature. To Liberalio, humans are passive. To Ortega, humans are in flux. To Liberalio, your nature creates you. To Ortega, you create your own nature. Yet both Liberalio and Ortega fundamentally fail to understand the law of identity when applied to human beings. Liberalio correctly asserts that everything has an origin, which indeed is unalterable. Ortega correctly says that human beings do change. In this sense, they aren't such radical opposites as they appear at first glance. Liberalio and Ortega differ in their conclusions, but both believe that human beings cannot both have a nature and undergo change. Either human existence is defined but static, or goes through change yet lacks identity. And both are wrong. After all, what does it mean to have a nature or an origin? For A to be A. It simply means that something is what it is. It doesn't state what that something is, only that it is what it is. When Liberalio claims that humans have an origin, and when Ortega says that humans have to fight to maintain their existence, these are not contradictory claims. It simply means that human nature includes constant change, even if a person is constantly in becoming. This becoming follows the possibilities laid out by man's nature qua man. Liberalio is correct in saying that your origin determines what you are. But what humans are, and also what NIKKEs and heretics are changing beings, even if they can't change their origin. Their origin makes it possible for them to change as people. Of this fact, chapter 42 gives countless examples. We see Leviathan finally learn to forgive herself and stop running away from the commander. We see Reptilion, a human pretending to be a rapture, living peacefully with other raptures. We see Cinderella, who overcame her corruption and rejoined humanity. We see Anise learn that the Ark isn't full of rot. We see the new Rapture Queen, only one, be pacified with a hug. We see the commander and Rappi overcome their fear of only one and embrace the young queen. Chapter 42 concludes with all of them, humans, heretics, NIKKEs and even a queen, peacefully living together, having conversation, understanding each other. Despite their differences in origin, all of them are living together. And for this, Liberalio's lifetime of experience had no explanation. She was left stupefied by it all.
I was completely in awe. I've lived a long life, but I've never felt like this before. My heart is racing. My body is warm. It's like a new path has been opened to me.
Sounds like you've fallen in love.
Maybe I have. Maybe I've fallen in love with this feeling of awe that I'd never even imagined before. I must tell Mother about this. I will persuade her. Tell her that a new path can be opened for us. That we can change too.
All of the original heretics are named after a philosophical movement. Nihiliste is named after nihilism, Modernia after modernism, and so on. It is apt that Liberalio would be the one that is named after liberalism. The other heretics are either forced servants of the Queen or escapees of her servitude. Liberalio is the first heretic to realize that another path is possible and that war between humans and the raptures is not the only possible future. She realizes that there is liberty in one's actions, and this is a fact she has fallen in love with this promise of a new, unexplored course of action. She is excited to explore it, to tell her mother about it, and to perhaps create a world where humans, NIKKEs, heretics and even raptures don't have to kill each other. What such a world looks like, we can only see a glimpse of it in Liberalio's Bond story. She becomes relaxed by the commander's soft heartbeat. While listening to it, she falls asleep with her head against his chest and remains like that for a short while. This episode is ultimately inconsequential, but it shows what could become. Two people of different origin affecting each other, as if there was no difference at all. As if there was only one.